Hey everybody, welcome to Gluten Free for All TV. Today we're going to do a product review on vanilla sponge cake. We're going to see how a gluten-free version compares to a conventional version. We're comparing 2 gluten-free recipes to 1 non-gluten-free recipe. So we're going to be making our first sponge cake with a recipe found by Dove's Farm. This is a gluten-free flour blend that's available in the UK. Our second sponge cake is going to be made out of a vanilla sponge mix by Sainsbury's. This is just a conventional mix, similar to like a Duncan Hines or that type of thing. Now finally, we're going to use a pre-packaged mix from Hale and Hearty. This is a gluten-free, wheat-free, soy-free, organic, and dairy-free, when made with dairy-free margarine, pre-packaged mix. We need to add 2 eggs and margarine and we have our batter. Our gluten version is not organic, but it is all natural ingredients. So for this mix, all we need to do is add a couple eggs and some milk. And finally, Dove's Farm, a wheat-free, gluten-free flour blend. We're going to make these sponge cakes from scratch. Okay, so I'm going to head to the kitchen and make 3 batches of sponge cakes based on the ingredients and method on the package and the recipe on the Dove's Farm website. So here we have our test group. On the left, we have the Dove's Farm version. In the middle, our Sainsbury's gluten brand, and on the right, our Hale and Hearty gluten-free. So how do we do for height? Well, we have an obvious winner, the Sainsbury's gluten mix. It's about 25% higher than the non-gluten versions. So how did we do with appearance? Well, the Dove's Farm gluten-free recipe version has a really nice golden color. It's got even browning, and it's quite uniform. The Sainsbury's brand is still a nice color, but it looks like the batter has split a little bit on top while cooking. And it's also slightly lopsided. Hale and Hearty is slightly lopsided as well, and the batter is split. It's a much richer color than the other two though. I think overall for appearance, the homemade Dove's Farm from scratch gluten-free version is the winner. Now let's test for texture. I baked the homemade version from scratch as per the instructions on the website. Originally when the time was done, it was actually undercooked, so I had to cook it slightly longer than I anticipated. I think as a result, it resulted in a bit of a drier cupcake. The Sainsbury's gluten brand acts a lot like a sponge. I guess it is a sponge cake, but I found it slightly rubbery and a bit tough. There were oils already in the ingredient list and I didn't have to add any margarine, so that's probably one of the reasons why. The Hale and Hearty version was actually a good combination between the other two. It was moist. It had a really rustic texture to it. I found it really spongy, and it had a really good feel to it. As you can see here, it just sort of springs back, but it's not hard like the Sainsbury's version was. I need to mention though that this particular brand, after a couple days, retained a lot of its moisture. It wasn't dry like the other two. So for that reason, Hale and Hearty wins the texture test. Now for the taste test. I have to say it was a close tie between the Hale and Hearty and the Dove's Farm homemade recipe. Both of them had a really good taste, nice flavor. I couldn't stop eating them, to be quite honest. The Sainsbury's version, it had didn't have a lot of flavor to it. It was bland. I think the 2 gluten-free versions were way more flavorful than the gluten Sainsbury's version. And if I had to serve anything to anybody, I would definitely serve one of the other 2 versions. It was super close, but I have to say Hale and Hearty took this one as well. Finally, value for money. Now, taking into consideration the additional ingredients that need to be added to the mix, the Hale and Hearty came out to be the most expensive of the 3. The mix only makes 6 cupcakes, which works out to be about 46 pence or about 75 cents per cupcake. Now, using non-organic ingredients, the homemade version was actually a really good price at 13 pence per cupcake or about 20 cents. That made 12 cupcakes. The Sainsbury's gluten version actually came in at around the same price as making from scratch. So who do I think the overall winner is? Well, hands down, the 2 gluten-free versions kick the Sainsbury's gluten version. So if you have a little bit of extra money, then the Hale and Hearty is a good choice. If you've got more time and you want to save money, making your own homemade gluten-free sponge cake is definitely the way to go. These demonstrations are for educational purposes only. No celiacs were hurt in the making of this video. If you want to see more, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thanks for watching!